Tonight's lesson, Everyday Math 11.4, is on volume of pyramids and cones. So let's take a look at the math message first of all. A rectangular prism and a cylinder each have exactly the same height and exactly the same volume. Based on the base of the prism is an 8 centimeter by 5 centimeter rectangle. What is the area of the base of the cylinder? All right, so one of the things we just have to think about is what is the formula for finding the volume of a prism, and what is the formula for finding the volume of a cylinder? And in both cases, it's the exact same formula. So it is the area of the base times the height. So if we know that the base of the prism is an 8 centimeter by 5 centimeter rectangle, then we know that the area of the cylinder base is going to have to also equal 40 square centimeters. Just going to scooch this down. All right, so now that you've figured out what the area of the base of the cylinder is, what is the diameter of the circle? And how could we go about figuring that out? So pull it down a tiny bit. So we start with, we know that the formula for area of a circle, because remember that's what the base of the cylinder is, a circle, is pi times radius squared. So let's just start to fill in what we do know. We already know that the area is going to be 40 because we go up here and look. I'm going to just highlight that. We already knew that it had 8 by 5 for the area of the base. So we're going to plug that 40 in. Let me click that back over. So 40 is equal to, and then we're just going to replace the pi symbol with an approximation that we're going to use when we multiply, and that's 3.14 times r squared. So we're left with the part that we don't know is this r squared. We got to figure that out. Okay, and keeping in mind that what we're figuring out is not the radius, but the radius squared. So how could we do that? We can take 40 and divide it by 3.14, and that's going to give us what r squared would be. So I'm going to pull this down. All right, so I'm going to do this on the calculator. I'm going to take 40, which is the area, and divide it by pi, which is 3.14. And I get 12.7388 and so on. So I'm going to round that to the nearest hundredth, which would be 12.74. So we're going to use that number. 12.74 represents r squared. So I'm just going to, so that we make sure we know that's what we're finding, I'm going to type that in. So this, let's see if I can move this up a tiny bit. There we go, equals r to the second power. Scooch that over. And we'll need to actually, yeah, there we go. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay, so when we did that division, we had to remember that we came up with radius squared. So now we've got to find the square root of this number. And this little fun calculator here doesn't have that on it, so I'm going to use the calculator you use in class. So I'm going to plug in 12.74. Oops. I'm going to take the square root of that. And I come up with about 3.57. 3.57. So that means that the radius then is equal to 3.57. That's an approximation. Okay, and that's centimeters. Oops. Go back to that. There we go. Right there. Okay. So now we've got that part. But if we go back to the question was, what is the diameter? This is what we're looking for, the diameter. So once we know that the radius is 3.57, all we need to do then is double it. scroll down a little bit here. So if we round the answer to the nearest hundredth, we get 3.57, and that's the radius, and so all we have to do is double it. So we know that the diameter is going to be about 7 14/100 centimeters. Okay. All right, so in class tomorrow we will be conducting an experiment to come up with the formula for volume of a pyramid and volume of a cone. So I'm not going to be giving you the formula and having you figure out volume on those shapes, on those geometric solids. Instead, I'm going to have you solve a few problems here. All right, so here's the first one. The question is, what is the diameter of the cylinder? Okay, so you are given the volume, 1,256 cubic meters, okay, and you're given the height, all right? So you need to use your understanding of the formula for volume of a cylinder to help you come up with this. You'll also need to know the formula for area of a circle. So I'm going to go ahead and just write those in case you have maybe forgotten. So volume equals, and again, it's going to be big B times little h. So volume is, and that big B means area of the base. Okay, so what do we need in order to solve the area of the base? We need to know the formula for area of a circle. And that is, I'm just going to write 3.14 because it's easier than trying to write pi. So it's going to be area equals pi times, and then it's radius squared, and that part I'm going to have to draw. Okay. All right, so you're going to need both of these formulas to figure it out. So remember, you're not figuring out the radius, you are figuring out the diameter. So that makes it a little bit more challenging. And then let's go to the last one. This one says, what is the height of the triangular base of this prism? This is more challenging, okay? So it says the volume of the prism is 600 cubic centimeters. So you need to remember that the formula for area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So if you're trying to figure out the area of this triangle, the formula is base times height divided by 2. Okay? So when you know the volume and you know the height, you should be able to then calculate what the area of the base is. But then to come up with the height, you've got to remember this formula right here. Okay? So good luck, give both of those a try, and I will see you in class tomorrow.